Well, good evening, everybody. This is your host, Mason Sims, and thank you for tuning in to another episode this evening. Joining us is candidate for Spartanburg County, Mr. Nick Duncan. He has taken some time out of his busy schedule on the campaign trail to be joining us to answer a few questions that we have for him about his plans for sheriff for Spartanburg County if elected. So, again, thank you for tuning in this evening. This is your host, Mason Sims, and let's get started. Well, good evening, everybody. This is your host, Mason Sims, and with us today, I have one of the candidates for Spartanburg County Sheriff, and Nick, thank you for agreeing to join us this evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, Joe. Just those of y'all may not follow like local politics or follow the news lately, just feel free to tell us about yourself.
Well, I am. I did my growing up years in Lawrence. Um, I moved there when I was 13, so I say that's my growing up years. But I grew up in the firehouse. My dad was a fireman with Travelers Rest Public Safety, and then or a cop and a fireman, and then ended up going to Malden Fire Department, going full time with the fire department there. And my grandfather was Greenville City, retired from Greenville City for 26 years. So I grew up in first responder family, grew up in the firehouse, and so I've always wanted to be in law enforcement. Most kids do, but so as I got older, I ended up in EMS. I was a paramedic with Greenville County EMS and Spartanburg County EMS, and then as I got to working with the guys on the same shifts, law enforcement, we typically run a lot of the same calls together. And every day I'd come home and I'd tell my wife that, dang, I really want to be, uh, I still want to be a cop. And so finally she convinced me to go on. So I started EMS 2008, 2009, and then went to the sheriff's office in 2014.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So, what would you say that you currently have to offer Spartanburg County that the other candidates may not be able to offer?
Uh, I have a unique perspective that I am in the middle of my law enforcement career. I had right at 10 years for the sheriff's office. And so, it's my personal belief that once you've been in a position or in a job for so long, especially after you've retired or gotten to the retirement age, your views are kind of, I don't really know how to say it, but your views are kind of concreted in. Like you're not really looking more for the future. You're looking more at retirement or stepping away from the job or whatever it is. Not just law enforcement, but any career after you've been in for a while. And so, me being in the middle of my career, I still want to be a cop. I'm not ready to retire. I'm not in law enforcement now, but depending on how this plays out for this election, if I'm not elected sheriff, I still want to be in law enforcement. I still want to go uh, work somewhere in law enforcement. So that lets me kind of see both the veteran side of law enforcement as well as the rookie side. I'm being right in the middle, and I'm forward looking and have a um, open view of where I'd like to see the sheriff's office head.
Absolutely, yeah. And with you being in the middle of your career, I'm sure people will like that, especially since you have a lot of years ahead. You have definitely a lot of time to plan for the future, like you said.
That's right. Right.
So, what would you say like the biggest contributing factor to crime right now is in your community?
Drugs are always going to be the leading cause of crime. Those that are addicts that can't afford their habits are always looking for ways to fund their habits, their addictions, whether that is to uh, steal stuff, to you know sell things, whatever. So if they can't find their way to fund their addiction in a legal way, then that leads them to crime. Whether it's stealing catalytic converters, breaking into houses, going into storage buildings or whatever, anything where they can steal something, get something for free and make money. Um, you know, drug addicts tend to always find $20 here, $50 there, in order to fuel their addiction. That is the biggest driving factor right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would say the past character, or excuse me, the past candidates that I've recently spoken with, I would say that's the number one thing in crime right now is drugs for sure. And I would
Yes,
say
sir.
that right here in Pickens County too. That's one thing that we face a lot too, especially with like opioids.
Right. Right. Yeah. Fentanyl's really big right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so what would you say the solution to overcrowded jails and prisons would be?
Well, there's not just one easy solution. If there was, we'd already be there. Um, but I am a firm believer, if you've done the crime, then you need to pay the time. You shouldn't just be able to get off of your sentence just because of overcrowding at the jails. You've done what you've done, so you have to pay for it now. Um, so But the only way to kind of curb that revolving door is the people that are coming in and out of the jails are typically a lot of the same people. They're the same people. They get out and they come back in. They get out and they do a crime again. They come right back. So it is a revolving door, and eventually they do a large enough crime that they spend a fair amount of time in jail or prison, and if we can end that revolving door, whether it is helping those that are seeking to get off of addiction or whatever, um, then that would be very beneficial. Reaching the youth and having a good interaction with young folks and getting them the help that they may need, whether it's mental help, whether it is, big brother, big sisters type deal, just giving them somewhere to mentor, and that can go a long way in ending the crime before it even starts. So, if you can do that, then that would greatly help with that overcrowding issue.
Yeah, and that's actually something that Pickens had faced too. We were overcrowding, and that was one thing that's a little controversial was getting the using the tax dollars towards a new jail, but
Right.
it definitely needed to happen though. It's just based on what I've heard. I mean, people were staying. Just say there's maybe like a 4-person jail cell, and there's like 10 to 12 people sleeping in there.
And I understand. I mean, it's from a tax standpoint. I understand it is not. You're not spending. The taxpayers are not spending money. Let's say we wanted to get a new jail. The taxpayers are not spending money on something that benefits them, unless they're a criminal, obviously. So, people don't want to spend money on something that doesn't benefit them. They're fine spending money on roads as long as the potholes get fixed and they can go to here to Target or wherever. They don't mind spending for the fire service, for fire department to come out if their house catches on fire. They're getting a service for their taxes. But the jails are, it's a sore subject with a lot of taxpayers, because it's essentially a money pit. It's You're spending money to house someone, to take away their freedom. So they're not really getting something back. So I get that. I get that struggle with taxpayers not wanting to pay that, but it is a necessity.
It is. Yeah, I remember a class I took when I was at Southern Wesleyan. It was forensic psychology, and that was one thing we had talked about. Those with mental disorders, the teacher was asking us to brainstorm ideas of what the solution would be, and I had mentioned mental institutions, and then he asked like, "Who likes taxes?" and nobody raised their hand. And he said, "Well, I mean, that's you say taxes aren't good, but that's what your tax dollars go towards is things like
That's
that."
right. Yeah,
There's certain things like that, even though it doesn't really affect necessarily you, it truly is a necessity.
that's right.
Yes. So another thing too, if you had an influx of money in the sheriff's office, what would you spend it on?
Well, it really just depends on whether this influx is a recurring money, or if it's a one time. If it's a one time money, if it was a one time money, um, the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office has pretty decent equipment, newer vehicles, and the computers aren't too very old. So I would like to spend the money on training. Um, if it is a recurring money, then probably what anybody else would say. I want to make sure that the deputies are paid and well compensated.
Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing that Mayor Beasley did, some weren't very happy with the millage increase, but it did end up raising the pay for, I think it was like firefighters and police officers of the city of Beasley. And she did
Right.
that to kind of help reduce the turnover rate. And so I think easily they lose a lot of employees to bigger counties like Greenville and Spartanburg County. So that was one thing that she did by raising the. Yeah. So is there, excuse me, so is there anything else that you would like to mention while you're on the air this evening?
I think so. We have a lot of candidates in Spartanburg County running for the sheriff's seat. I think that people should do their homework and research each candidate and figure out which candidates uh, vision for Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office most aligned with what they want to see from Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. Not everybody has the same opinion. Some people want option A, some people want option B, but you don't know which option you want until you look at it. And so I encourage everybody to look at all the candidates and make a good educated decision.
That's right, yeah. And one thing I've noticed too, the average voter, they tend to focus on the national issues, which is good, but really the things that affect your everyday life are right here in the local governments.
That's that's right. That's right. Yeah, your local elections affect you way more than even the presidential election. So, yeah, need people get involved with the local elections.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, those of y'all that reside in Spartanburg County, make sure to save the date for the debate at Converse College. And what date did you say that was again?
That is the 11th of
11.
July.
All right. So, yeah. Make sure you put that on the calendar. The
Yes, sir.
Spartanburg County is putting that on for y'all. This is July the 11th, and make sure that you do have some money. I believe that you do have to purchase a ticket. But yeah, that way you'll be able to gather a lot of information and be able to make the right to be able to gather information, make the right decision once the polls open up. Yes. So, but yes, well, yes. Well, Nick. Well, if that's all, I certainly appreciate you coming on the show this evening, and you're more than
I
welcome to
think I'm
come
out of
on.
line. I think I'm out of.
And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please feel free to click like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates, and also follow our Facebook page as well. I hope that everyone has had a great week so far. And tomorrow night, we'll also be having several other Spartanburg County sheriffs joining us to share some of their thoughts on Spartanburg County and their plans for it once elected. So again, thank you for all for tuning in this evening. Good night to all. God bless America. Thank you.